Hi, I'm Alex Hedison, and the film that we're bringing to Sundance is Alok, about Alok, who's the most incredible poet, activist, thinker, feeler, incredible being. And this film is all about being as much of yourself as possible, bringing as much of yourself into the world, and how we can all do it together.
My name is Alok Vadmenon, and I am the subject of the film.
Hi, I'm Jodie Foster. I'm the executive producer of the film.
I first found Alok on Instagram, actually, and did a deep dive into their work, listening to their speeches and their reading their poetry and just finding out more about them. And when I met Alok, I really instantly fell in love. I'm telling you that right now, just so you know. And
You mean you weren't one of those hateful trolls in my comments?
no, no. It's just my heart just split wide open, and Jody and I just got to know Alok and just absolutely wanted to make this piece. I just started filming them and following them, and Jody saw some of the footage and got excited about it.
Yeah, I enter into the picture because I saw the footage, and the footage is extraordinary. I learned so much, and this is, for me, that's a great joy, is to be able to be part of something where I get to learn a lot and change and transform. And I think that's what this movie's about.
It began with one of those cliche, I just want to follow you around on tour. You know, I want a camera to just be sitting there to capture, and I was like, okay. So it's really beautiful to see what it's come on the other side, because it genuinely didn't have an agenda, and I think that's where the best art kind of comes from, just co-presence and witnessing. And I think that's where Alex's eye in particular is so unique as a photographer. I would say that the first way that Alex started capturing me was I would just be sitting around, and then Alex would be like, wait, this is a really great angle, and take out her iPhone and then make it happen. And so I think that there's a way in which Alex was seeing things even before the film, that when I look on the other side, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. I think there's a long history of sensationalism and of exploitation of trans people in documentary form, where it's kind of like this, look at this exotic subculture, look at these people doing these zany things. So I'm always a little cautious. But what I really appreciated about Alex is that the method was not about, you are my object, I am theorizing you. It was more collaborative. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the frustrations I often have is that feminist filmmaking gets seen as something fringe, but I actually think it's the future of how we make art, is that we need to break out of this idea that I'm just a canvas for someone else's projection, and instead actually think about let's communicate, let's talk about how to co-produce this. And so Alex's approach, I think, is what won me over, is I don't know, what do you think? Rather than coming in with saying, this is an agenda, or I want you to do this. There's more of an element of play.
Well, one thing I can think of off the top is that I felt like I was aware of the change that I was going through as I was making this. I felt very affected by Alok's work as it was happening in the moment. So watching their stand-up, going to their poetry performance, I felt myself shifting in a way, and if it had been a full-length documentary, I probably would have put myself into it to also expose myself and that change, to illustrate to others that there's a way of approaching new information and taking it in and shifting yourself and inviting yourself to become as much of yourself as possible. And so Alok all the time was really encouraging and questioning me, was really asking me as if I was the subject, how are you feeling? Well, what about you? What do you think? So it really felt collaborative to me in that way.
One of my favorite moments was Alex came with me on tour in Namibia and South Africa, and we were taking a drive from Swakopmund to Windhoek, as one does. And we would be having these kind of bold conversations about everything. And Alex would be like, I need this on film, right? And so that's where you don't have a proper setup. You have to take your iPhone and just kind of capture it. And then I was like, Alex, actually, I want to capture you. I want to be able to flip the camera on you because what you're having right now is a revelation. And that's, I think, the spirit of it, is it never felt like, yes, there's sit down interviews, but it felt genuinely immersive and like a reflection or an imprint of the conversations that we were having over the year.
And one of the wonderful things, just quickly, is we all know Alex through her artwork. She's an artist and has been an artist for a very long time, very successful artist. And I know her as the person that has that crazy eye where she'll be looking at me and she's just like, oh, wait, wait, wait. And he, of course, has to find some corner shadow that's extraordinary. And it's wonderful to see somebody that is a self-motivated artist who works alone to suddenly be put in a filmmaking position where it's about change through a group, through partnership, through collaboration, much to the spirit of this film.
It's interesting because Christopher Nolan last night spoke about independent filmmaking and that it actually is quite a dependent art form. And for me as a photographer, it really was an independent and is an independent experience. It's one of the reasons I like it, is that I go out on my own and I create this work. But it's also lonely. And there's something about the community of filmmaking and the collaboration. I cannot do it without others. And I cannot do this without you. I cannot do it without the filmmakers and the technicians and the people who are loving the art of film. So it was so rewarding for me in that way, and I just want more of it. First of all, the producers, Megan Lennon, Elizabeth Bodwin, and Natalie Sherinian, are incredible, incredible women, filmmakers, and thinkers. So they really, really helped me set a deadline. They were like the fire behind this, making sure that I didn't just continue to tinker and play. And they're like, you've done it. You're making the edit. They kept set deadlines. And they were extraordinary. And they helped me see what this film could be and what the subject it would be, what the thesis of it was. Over 40 hours of footage, and that was shot over about a year and a half.
I talk a lot.
I mean, that was really the gift and the problem, because I would ask Alok something kind of banal, not that interesting, and then
It
they
would be
would
like, what did you eat for breakfast tomorrow? I'd be like, what is breakfast? Who defines time?
and the philosophy that would come out of their mouth, and all of a sudden, and it would just be 5 minutes later, I was listening to something that was like a sermon. It was so extraordinary and changed my life, and then I didn't know what to do or how to cut it, so I'm really glad we were able to make this into a succinct piece.
Every term needs reframing. I think I'm most inspired by bell hooks, who really taught me more than anyone else to claim a word like love, which has been used as a weapon for so many of us. It's often the people who say that they love us that try their best to destroy us and then call that love. And what bell hooks sort of taught me is that it's not about abandoning these words, it's about re-clarifying and re-signifying them. And I think so much of and I'll keep using this word all day, what feminism is about for me is a re-clarification. So equality isn't just about like getting access to what men have. It's about redefining what power actually is. Justice isn't just about legal recognition. It's about the creation of a world where we're having a good time. So I think feminism makes us up the ante on all of these terms. And I think that's something I really appreciated about the final cut, is that so much of representation of my community dwells on our tragedy and violence. But what you really see in this film is a kind of vibrancy and aliveness that actually redefines transness, not as something tragic or sad, but actually something really beautiful and ebullient for the entire world. Well, I think this couch has embodied hope. There's a lot of like intergenerational resentment. And what's really cool about what we're representing here is that we might use different words, but it's the same goal. It's a goal where all people are free. And so I think rather than focusing on the vitriol, which there's a lot of, I really want to uplift the moments of dissent. And sometimes that dissent looks like having a good time, even though we're not supposed to. It looks like people from different backgrounds coming together. And I think that's what the film is really about, is that it actually requires us to see LGBTQ issues not as just something over there, but as something that is integrated into all of us. And I think the next phase of our movement that gives me hope is that we break out of this idea of you're my ally, I'm oppressed, to actually all of us need this because it creates a better world for all of us. I just want to continue to be beautiful. And that'll take me in a lot of places, but the world is so boring, so I have to decorate it a little bit more.
The world is not boring.
That's true.
The world is not boring.
The world as it's represented right now doesn't do justice to its beauty. That's a better way to put it.
That's right. This has been such a joy being here at Sundance, and such an honor for me as a first-time filmmaker. There's no place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather share this film, and to be among such creative, collaborative, well-knowledged filmmakers and artists it's just a joy. So it's pretty exciting for us all to be here.
As the elder statesman, I first started coming to Sundance in the 80s. I was on the jury. For me, the revelation of this year, which is turning 60, and how happy it's made me, because I realized it's not my time. I had my time, which was beautiful, and on the continuum I gave as much as I could give, but now it's my time to help other people have their time. And that's just been so magnificent and so much more fun to be amidst all of these new filmmakers that teach me something, with their new voice that I didn't get to hear when I was starting out as a filmmaker in my 20s. And I, of course, would have been a different person had I met Alok when I was in my 20s. But we all get to keep changing and keep getting better instead of worse.